Hey there, friend. How have you been? 3:07 p.m. Cloudy, cozy. So in my last episode, I talked to you about my last year and how I went through what I think was pretty much a burnout. And I concluded by saying that I won't be, selling my art, my practice, my writing, or more than anything, that I won't be creating it to be sold. I just want to create it to create it and hope that can be something that can actually sustain me and make me thrive and never make me work normal jobs again. I know this sounds like I think very highly about myself, and that is an interesting starting point because I do. I really do, and I don't at the same time, in the sense that, well, since I can remember, I don't know, I've experienced this big duality within myself, in the sense that I've always tried to fit in. I've always wanted people to love me. I always wanted to be pleasant and to be nice and to be easy to spend time with and agreeable. And at the same time, I've always thought I have so much to give and I could occupy so much space if I only let myself do it. And that, to me, it's a very scary duality because, people don't like it when you occupy a lot of space, when you are quote unquote too much. You're too much. Gee, thanks. We're constantly bombarded by reels and stuff like created by women who say, if he thinks you're too much, let him go find less. Yes, okay. But sure. Fair enough. But when it's not only about romantic relationships, when it's actually about who you are, even by yourself, not everyone is comfortable being too much or even a lot. We all just want to be, enough. And by trying to be enough, we end up sometimes settling for being too little instead of what we could actually be, our, potential. And I don't know, some people say that you can really see who you are if you look at the people who are around you, like the people you chose as your friends, extended family, and everyone you love. And if I look around, I see that I am surrounded by people who have so much to give, who are so talented, and who are at the same time deadly scared about letting the world see them for who they are. And today I started thinking, why is that so scary? Why is that so scary to let the world see you for who you actually are? And I don't think there's one answer to this question. I think, just like for anything else, there's several answers for any question, depending on who's answering. But as you're listening to me, I think the world is a scary, scary place. I think it's dark and it's dangerous and it's full of people who judge you and who will make you feel bad for what you're trying to do and for who you're trying to be. And probably in our imaginary, this trumps anything else. This trumps the potential of actually, the other side of the world. So people who would actually appreciate you and get you for who you are, unfiltered and all. I think we are so scared to let the world see what we have to give. Because, and I don't know if I can talk about everyone, but I could definitely be talking about my generation. I'm 30, so I don't know, people around my age. I think we still belong to the old paradigm where we've been taught that, first of all, you should fit in. Second of all, you should be hardworking. You have to work hard and then you'll get what you deserve. But what do I deserve exactly? Minimum paycheck and a burnout. Do I deserve 3 hours of free time in the evening? Do I deserve 2 weeks free a year? Do I deserve not being able to dress as I want and spend my time as I want? Do I deserve always being polite to people who treat me like shit? Do I deserve washing dishes as my job? Cleaning floors? Serving people? Using my studies in a way that doesn't fit me? Do I deserve that? Interesting choice. Very interesting choice to raise children with the idea that work is the ultimate end, like the ultimate goal. I'm still trying to detox myself from this idea, and when I have my famous peaks of anxiety, I start looping and thinking, oh my god, I don't have a normal job. I will forever be broke. I will be doing nothing with my life. Everyone will think that I'm a failure. First of all, everyone who, I think I know, 50 people in total. Second of all, real job. What do you mean by real job? Something that it's, I need external validation that my job is real. What I'm doing here is real. It pays my bills. So why don't I consider this as my real job? Probably because it doesn't suck, probably because I enjoy doing it, I think the world is going to end. Not in a dramatic way, not in a 2012 way, Armageddon sort of thing. No big waves or acid rains, but it is going to end. Actually, MIT published an article about the crisis of 2040, which is in 15 years now. I'll be 45 years old when this happens. So MIT published this article that talks about how by 2040 there will be a dramatic change in the world. So in food resources, well, of course, climate change, the value of money, and consequently everything else. And while that is obviously scary, the unknown is always scary, there's also part of me that can't wait for that to happen. Not because I want people to suffer, not because I enjoy chaos and crisis, but because perhaps, what we need is a radical liberation. Perhaps we've been living in a collective hallucination of how things should be, of how our life, should look like. Go to school, get a degree, find a job, work, die, repeat. And people who do different things, who live by different standards, are either very rich, so they don't have to worry about anything. They don't have to work. Very poor, so they don't have a choice. They're just stuck in a low standard kind of life, kind of like unable to raise above what life gave them. Or are people who live outside of society. But if you think about it, it's not that common to find someone who doesn't work and is, quote unquote, normal. So, I don't know. I'm really curious about what the new idea of normality will be when we no longer need to work. And I decided, well, I've already talked about this in, my previous episode, but I decided that for me, 2040 is already here. I decided that in spite of my future, in spite of all odds, I won't be part of this collective hallucination. I am taking back my time and I'm doing whatever I please with it. Of course, I try not to be a burden on anyone. Of course, I try my best to be able to support myself and sustain myself and get all the things that I need and that I desire, but I do not want for my job to be the purpose of my life. And I'm making this episode as a reminder, as an offer, a suggestion that all your talents, they matter, and if they don't matter outside, they matter inside of you. If there's something more that you'd like to be doing, or something different, or something that you can't stop thinking about, just because you feel like there's no place for it in the world, that doesn't mean that's true. That only means that you haven't found a place quite yet, but that place already exists within you, otherwise you wouldn't be feeling it, you wouldn't be thinking about it. This is not about becoming a successful artist or writer or musician or dancer or whatever. This is just about the mindset, a reappropriation of what's yours. A radical stance on who you are, regardless of the outcome. What you have to give, what you want to create, what you want to say and to be matters. Otherwise, you wouldn't be feeling it. Everything else is secondary. The outcome is secondary. The number of people who will like your post is secondary. Don't you want to be who you are? Don't you want to be yourself at the fullest? Don't you want to embrace those parts of you that feel self-indulgent and lazy? And too relaxed in spite of everything else? Don't you want to feel free to create? Whatever your gifts are, I am not telling you the world needs them, but I am telling you need them. Otherwise you wouldn't have them. You need them because they are yours, and there was a moment in time where you thought they were valuable, and that thought was correct. So instead of falling into the trap of I'm too late, now there's no point, I shouldn't be doing this anymore, the moment for this has passed, instead of falling into the trap of linear time, what you can try and do as a favor to yourself is think back to that moment where you thought you had it where you thought the things that you had were enough. Go back to that moment, even for a second. Think about it. Why would that thought be any less valuable or any less true than all the demeaning, blaming, criticizing thoughts that you have on a daily basis? Nothing. They're just thoughts. They're just feelings. You decide whether or not to follow them, and that doesn't mean, again, that doesn't mean the perfect application of them. The perfect application of your talents does not exist. The only thing that exists is your own way. Your way of doing things in a way that gives you joy, that brings you joy, a way that makes you feel even a little bit closer to who you know you are. It is not about labels. It is not about professions. It is not even, it's not even about roles. It's about identity, at least for me. What is my identity as someone who is living right now? What is my identity as a creature who can do things? Perhaps you've been feeling like you haven't been doing enough. Perhaps you've been feeling, burnt out, overwhelmed, unable to draw, or to sing, or to play, or to write, or whatever. And that's okay. Stillness itself is part of the process. There's no shame in that. That is not you being unable to do something. It's just you trying to find your way. Stillness is part of your way. There's no big advice. There's no resolution. It's just a suggestion. Trust. Trust who you are. Trust who you are in every form. Trust the lazy bits and the productive bits, the ugly bits, the good ones, the charming ones. You are an open concept, and the world is ending. Nothing will ever be as it was. Everything is going to be different again, not in a dramatic way, but enough so for you to be free, to do and to feel and to be anything you thought you were going to be. Think about it. I'll talk to you next time. These episodes are the podcast version of my Substack articles. I have a Substack page called The Way Home, and there everything is free, so I do not offer premium content, but I do believe that the right people will find my page eventually, and that the right people will support my work exactly for what it is. So if you feel like you're one of those people, check it out, and if you want, support my work. Thank you. Talk to you next time.